All right, let's take a look at this upcoming week. So up here, we're gonna look at the 3-year weekly. Or down here, we're gonna be looking at the daily and a year. So the last year, and then we'll be looking at like an hourly chart. Okay. So what are we seeing? Well, on the weekly, right? We had our 200 SMA we touched. I called low of year on this date right here, right? On this low, and then we broke through it actually briefly, and then we have been trending back up. Now our point of control on this time span is 440.87. So in order to return to a point of control with the heaviest amount of shares traded, we'd actually have to run that buy stop here. Okay, so we'd be looking for that area. So we'll just keep this as a area of reference for any swing highs. And down here on the yearly, we can see that here. So this was the 200 SMA touch reject. We have tried to break above it a couple times. So what's interesting about what happened last week is we had this period of accumulation, and then we broke out, back tested the breakout, and then ran again, and then we broke above the 200 SMA. So we need to be mindful of that the intermediate trend is up, but the long-term trend right now is down, and actually on a long-term trend we're up. So what am I looking for this coming week? Well, until price does something that is a change of character, I'm just going to go with the trend. The trend would be, okay, we have these highs here all the way down through here. So this is our major downtrend line, right? We can see this on the weekly as well. We need price to break above this level here, which is the 412, right? We need price to break above 412 and hold. But this is shaping up here. So we can see we have lower low, lower high, lower low, higher high. Okay, so what are we looking for after we get a higher high? We're looking for a higher low, right? Now someone right here could have thought, yep, confirmed, exit liquidity.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up,
because then we broke back down. So what are we doing right now? We're kind of in a make or break situation, because I see if we can break above the 410 level, well, then I think it's all systems go back up to 440. And if that's the case, does that mean that inflation's over, the Fed's gonna pivot? Like, there's a lot of scenarios that open up in that point. And I think the market's running actually a little too hot. What I think is gonna happen is, like I've been saying in all the last videos, right? We're gonna use opportunities during these rallies to go short. I don't think this is a bad spot to go short. I did long puts, just a small amount on Friday, and anything above 400 to 410, I'm probably gonna load in a bunch more. So, and you can see what positions I do enter or exit in the Discord. Let's take a look at like for reference, let's take a look at like SPX. Actually, prior to even looking at that, let's get rid of all this stuff off here. I want to look at fib retracement. Okay, so we can go from this to here, right? That's about that's a 50% equilibrium. This is what I do that for. So I want to know from our recent high to our low, any return to a premium. So this is a discount, and it kind of lines up with our point of control. But right now we are in a premium, okay? At the daily 200 SMA. Will it break above and hold above? Because if it does, then we are all systems go to this high right here, right? That 423.33 level. It's pretty much the same what I've been saying. You know, use these opportunities to get better risk reward on your short entries. Now be mindful that no matter what, in the grand scheme of things, the market does want to go up. So when you are going short, time is your enemy. Okay, whether that's being, I'm not saying it's because you're long puts and that means you're short theta and so you have time decay on your options. No, I'm saying that generally the market wants to go up, right? So the average return since 1929 in the S&P 500 of coming out of a bear market is almost 40%. And we average about 10 to 11% since 1929. If we're looking to go short, history says that, you know, if you hold long enough, you're actually it's gonna be an unprofitable trade. Let's take a look at QQQ. QQQ is the same boat. I was looking for this to fill, right? This is the hourly. Filled this, kind of ran a little bit, back tested the new gap that it created, okay, and then it pushed again. This was actually a really good week that we had for Qs. But where are we at on the daily? Well, we're at 280.97. Point of control is 282.40. So we're approaching an area where there's significant amount of shares. And then up at 331.76 is our upper value area. Right now I see we have a imbalance here at 314. We have our 200 SMA at 295. These are all areas that are prone to rejection. So a break above 282.40, I'm targeting 295.74. Okay, break and hold above that, I'm targeting this imbalance here. It's 312.54. And it's funny, when you begin to look at volume profile, you'll start to notice how these areas play out. So this area, well, if I throw, let's just say I throw a line right there just so you can see it. So we see the gap in volume of shares traded, but that also comes at a high. That also comes at this prior support before it knifed through, creating a fair value gap, a retracement into that fair value gap, right, to offset orders, and then a dip down. So it helps tell a complete picture and quickly identify what's going on. Now, if we're looking at this on a larger time span, so let's take a look at the up here in the weekly. We're at the weekly point of control. This lower value area is held a few times, right? See these wicks, wick, but it did lose the 200 SMA here and here. So this is where buyers are showing up, and they're continuously showing up. But on a downside target, is there anything I see over here that I like? Not really. Maybe here, which would be 238.45. Okay, that's actually off of this high here, which is 237.47. But for the most part, this lower value area is proven to be pretty strong. I mean, it is down quite a bit from its highs for an ETF, 408. Let's take a look at Tesla. Okay, Tesla hit our buy line. Well, actually, it ended up being our weekly lower value area. It went down all the way down to as low as 101. We bought in at 114 and 120 commons and calls. So what am I looking for? Well, the weekly is a bit of a mess, but we can see that we're getting increasing volume right here, and we can also see on the daily a huge amount of volume, right? And this is part of longs getting liquidated, securing their investment. I mean, they were up a hell of a lot, right? Our point of control is still 53.55, and it's at 122, right? So it's crazy that it was up here at 414, and they were still buying. People were bullish on Tesla. Now on the hourly, we're sitting at value. Point of control 122.39. We need to break above 126.46 in order to start targeting these sell side imbalances. So that's first one would be like 135. Our next one would be about 145. And our next area of true overhead supply would come at right about 155 into 180. And what I'm visually seeing when I say this is looking at these nodes here, right? And we're below that. So we need to mitigate this overhead supply here, break through into this area of low volume where a low amount of shares have traded, and then we have to break above here too. And then that leads into our lower value area, which is 179.91 on the year. I feel like the year is a better way to gauge Tesla than the weekly. But I was chatting with a buddy back when we were over here at 414, and I was like, oh god, this looks like it could knife. That actually leads into something else we were talking about, which was Google at the time. What I'd be targeting for in Google is kind of where it's at, this imbalance here, right? So now what I would want to see is it take back 95.07, that's the 200 SMA, on the weekly, right? So it's a longer time scale. So if it can get back above this level, then I would like to target the upper value area at 119. And then this area here really never got mitigated that well. This is a great textbook example of, you saw support here on the daily, right? So you had support here, support again. So someone who's watching this every day could say, hey, listen, if it comes back down to this level, these lows, I'm gonna buy, right? It buys, it breaks down, okay? And then you have one chance following a breakdown to get out at a reduced loss, right? You can either have your stops below it, or you would exit on the pump back up through. So this is your one opportunity to get out, kind of hands clean, and then watch it form it again. Okay, and this is the same scenario where you say, okay, well, you know, these lows are respecting, I'll go long, comes back up, where a prior support becomes resistance. That's our upper value area that we can see around the yearly, 123.83. So it sees it, doesn't get enough buying pressure. It actually goes up and tests it on declining volume, right? So that's a sign that there's really no strength in the move. Comes down, drops on increasing volume. Okay, this is long as getting liquidated and shorts covering, as well as new buyers stepping in that have been waiting for this price point for a while. Pushes back up in, and now what are we doing? We're doing the same thing we were before. We have this area of support. All right, that's 85.66. So I'd be okay with buying 85.66 with an 83 flat stop loss, let's say, or 80 on like comments. Our 200 SMA is 107.33 and 115.71 is our point of control, and 123.83 is that area where support became resistance, and it did it right down here as well, right at the 100 level. Support became resistance right here.